University was pleased to receive one of the grants, and we've been working with it for the past year. So I first wanted to let you know we have several partners, in addition to a variety of folks at Towson, from not only just the faculty from computer science and mathematics, but also faculty from admissions, and that's kind of unique. But we found that really helpful, especially when you look later on. Some of our partners are from community colleges, and we had planned to work with 8 partners. We successfully visited or hosted 4 of our community college partners, and then things got a little bit dicey in the spring, and that kind of put a stop to that. And it was something we really wanted to do in person. Also, a huge partner for us is the Baltimore County Public Schools. We've relied heavily on some of their teachers to guide us through with the development of course materials. Okay, so I wanted to share our primary goal was to develop a major that would lead to dual certification in computer science and mathematics at the secondary level. And it's always been our approach to try to do dual certification in comp sci and math, and I can share those reasons if you like, but I think we talked about that before, but that's why you see a lot of math people in here with a comp sci. So there were 4 parts of this, and I can see that the screen, interestingly, is different size. You can see the first 3 here. So I'm going to go through one by one, and probably in the essence of time, let me just go on to the next slide. So the first part of developing our major was that we had to initiate the approval process. Those of you that have started a major program know that this is a really long process with several different steps. What we've accomplished so far is that the major was approved by both the computer science department and the mathematics department. Since it leads to dual certification, both departments have a hand in it. We submitted a letter of intent to our provost, who recently gave us a thumbs up with a condition that she was concerned with the high credit count. So we're going to look at that. And the last bit was not really part of the grant, but we want to announce that we hired, or Towson hired its first computer science secondary ed faculty member. So this is really great. It's exciting for us, and he'll join us in the fall. And then probably you'll be seeing a lot of him at some of these meetings. Yeah, thumbs up for sure. So we have to try to reduce our credit count. You know, I agree, 128 credits is quite a lot. We also need to update our mappings, because when we were putting this major together, this has been a long process. It's moved slowly for us. We were using the old standards. So now we've got to relook at the 2020 CSTA standards for computer science teacher education. So that's the initiation of the approval process. As part of developing a major, there's several different components of it that we were looking at. One of those was our first education course. So Towson University is part of the You Teach network, which means that our education programs for math and science are pooled together. We have certain hallmarks, and one of those hallmarks of our program is that our students have early and frequent field placements starting in their freshman year. And those field placements are supported by the regular secondary ed faculty in math and science, but also by what we call master teachers. And master teachers are folks who have served most of their career in the public high schools, and then they switch and become full faculty members at Towson University, and they work with our students throughout the 4 years. The difficulty that we have is we have no master teacher in computer science right now. We have master teachers in mathematics and science, but not computer science. So we took the opportunity with the grant to work with Baltimore County Public School teachers to develop lesson plans that our computer science secondary ed majors, when they become full-fledged majors, could implement in the public schools. So they have field placements, and it starts in elementary school, but then mostly in middle and high schools. So our Baltimore County Public School teachers developed what we call skeleton lesson plans. So this is the first education course our students experience. It's a 1-credit course. It's sort of like boot camp for teachers. This is what teaching is about. Test out teaching, see if you like it. So if you're a freshman and you say, hey, I really liked, maybe serving in a summer camp, but I don't like lesson planning, so teaching's not for me, that you find that out early. Also, it's a first class for our transfer students and upperclassmen who join the major later. So in this very first course, we don't expect our students to to develop lesson plans from the very beginning. We give them skeleton outlines that we think are going to be successful. We set them up for success, for their own success and the success of the students. And so our Baltimore County teachers, our partners, developed lesson plans. It was a sequence of 3 lessons that utilize Scratch, and they were to be used in a math middle class, and you can see the focus there at the bottom. And I don't know, can you see? You can't see the bottom of the screen either, can you? I'm sorry. Well, I can tell you what it, you can, the last thing that you see is foci, right? Learn the basics of Scratch and then use it to explore. Okay. And they're going to explore what's missing on the bottom of the slide. I'm sorry that it's not, the ratio is incorrect. They're going to explore the coordinate grid and how to plot points, and then to look at the slope. So these were math lessons. Let me see if there's anything that I missed here that I wanted to tell you about. No, I think we got it. These were 5E lesson plans. And feel free to interrupt me if you'd like. Okay, then another part of, well, gosh, I put this under developing a major, and it was with this in mind, but our Baltimore County Public School teacher partners, they developed a module for a graduate class for in-service math teachers. And you can say, okay, this is a graduate level course, it's not part of your major, and that's true, but we were hoping that our experience with this would guide us to what we might like to do in a computer science methods class. So we had this Arduino module that we piloted in the fall. We had 8 graduate students who were participating. Most of them were themselves math teachers. Okay. And then the last part of trying to develop a major was the big guy, I guess. Well, maybe the second big guy. The first big guy is just to have it approved. We were in the process of developing a computer science methods course. We piloted it in the spring of 2020. What a semester to pilot a new course. We had 18 participants, and if you can look at the breakdown, 4 of them are computer science majors, and 2 of those majors are actually sticking with us, hoping that we have our major approved and that they will be certified to teach both computer science and mathematics. So that's nice. And 2 other computer science majors were interested and were testing it out. Then we had 7 math ed majors, and we had 7 graduate students who themselves were mathematics teachers. It was quite a disparate group of people in this course. You can imagine the computer science majors came in with a lot of knowledge of content that our math students did not. On the other hand, the teachers had all this pedagogical knowledge that the computer science teachers did not. And our Baltimore County teachers who were teaching the course rose to the occasion and gathered them all together and made this, I think, a very successful course. The incentives, it was twofold. We gave tuition remission, $800 to all those students, and that was grant supported. And also the students received credit toward their degree, be it an undergraduate degree in computer science or math, or the graduate degree. And this was really, coming from the support of the computer science department and the math department to make this possible, because this is not a normal course in their sequence. So that was great. The Baltimore County school teachers sat down and looked at the course, and I wanted to share that they had 5 themes that they held throughout it. Content, the content that they wanted their students to be exposed to. They want their students to think about planning and instruction. This is the pedagogy of computer science. Engagement, how to engage middle and high school students in computer science. How to assess this, and equity issues. And each of those, I suppose, could be expanded upon, and you could ask me about them and I will try later on, but my knowledge, I didn't teach the course, so it will be a little bit limited, well, a little bit more than limited. Okay. I also wanted to share that we have collected data, pre and post survey data of dispositions and beliefs. We had, the students had to remember their code because it was anonymous, and some of them forgot that. So in the end, though we had 18 students in the course, we have 14 true pairs of pre and post that we can look at. And then we also had an assessment of content and pedagogical knowledge. So far, I've looked at the pre and post survey data, my colleague and I wanted to share some of that with you. The disclosure at the bottom is that all the analyses are preliminary. I did them last night and somewhat in the wee hours of the morning, and I'd really like to take a look at them and confirm them before anybody would run and say, hey, this is what they found. I need a little bit more time. But this was, I found interesting. And okay, so I was using a Wilcoxon-Sign rank test to look at the pre and post survey data. The data you can see was on a Likert scale. And each of these slides that you see, there's a statement in red. This is a statement that the students were given. So the first one, computational thinking, is a phrase that means programming and coding. And you can see in the pre-survey, they were, somewhat neutral to this. Some agreed, some disagreed, but fairly neutral. But in the post-survey, you can see there was a switch to disagree, whether it was disagree or strongly disagree. The p-value is there to tell you, hey, it's statistically significant. But you can see I have a big yellow star in this. And the reason I have a yellow star there is for me to remind you, the yellow star is to remind myself to say that the p-value being statistically significant is telling part of the story, but not the whole story. The next slide I show you, the p-value is going to be very similar. It's going to be 0.014. But what was really important with this question is that there was a switch from neutrality to disagree, which I think is a bigger switch than if you look at the next slide. So I'll make the comparison, but let's look at the question. Computational thinking involves the use of logical thinking to solve problems. And you can see the pre-survey, the students were all on strongly agree and agree, more on agree than strongly agree. And the post-survey, that switched to strongly agree. So this is also statistically significant. And in fact, the p-value is smaller, so the results seem to be stronger, but the message is not as strong because they were already agreeing with the statement. So when you're looking at it, I think it's really important to say, like with this first slide, was it a switch from neutrality to either agree or disagree, or was it beliefs becoming stronger? So I just wanted to point that out. And I don't know if we find these interesting or not, but we can look at a few more of these if that is interesting. So computational thinking is connected to various scientific fields and can be used to introduce, the wording here seems a little bit strange, can be used to introduce in various disciplines. I gotta look at that question. And so again, they're starting from basically agreeing and becoming stronger with their feelings. Let's see. Why? I'm sorry, it's not letting me advance. That's interesting. Is it, all of you can still hear me?
Yeah, it's still the p-value of 0.004. Maybe you just need to click on it again. There you go.
Here we go. Okay. And then here, computational thinking promotes creativity and innovation. Our students became stronger in their feelings that they agreed with this statement. Computing knowledge can be applied to solve other problems. And again, you can see that from pre to post, they're becoming stronger in their feelings for this. So, I think this might be about the last, there's two more. This one was a little bit interesting. Learning computational thinking will help only those students who intend to pursue studies and careers in the mathematics, science, and computer science fields. And you can see in the pre-study that it was somewhat spread out, there's certainly modal and disagree. But by the post-survey, it was almost all in disagree or strongly disagree. So that was a big switch. So we had other statistically significant results, and the p-values were a little bit higher. They were still fine, and I just thought we didn't need to look at everything. But I wanted to point out, as typical, some of our results were not statistically significant, and I need to look at those because that's actually informative also. The assessment on content and pedagogical knowledge is soon to be underway. And then on to our second goal. The second goal that we had was to work with our community college partners to develop recommended transfer programs and 2+2 pathways. So as I had mentioned before, we met with 4 of our partners: Carroll Community College, the Community College of Baltimore County, Hartford Community College, and Howard Community College. And the folks that came from the community college and Towson University, just to refresh your memory, we had admissions officers, academic advisors, and the faculty from the Departments of Education, Computer Science, and Mathematics. And I think it was really a benefit for us to have the admissions officers from both the community colleges and Towson University there at the table, that they knew the difficulties that we would have in trying to set up these pathways. So I wanted also to share with you that when you're trying to set up pathways from the community college through a 4-year program, it's really a set of tiered goals. The lowest level fruit is to develop a recommended transfer program. This is just basically a listing of courses that the university is saying that students at the community college should take if you want to pursue such and such major when you get to, in our case, Towson University. It's pretty easy to put together. But then it doesn't really guarantee anything. It's just saying, hey, we recommend you take these courses. The next step up is to say, hey, you can do this 4-year major in 4 years. And you're going to have 2 years at the community college, 2 years at your 4-year institution, in our case, Towson. And you can complete this 4-year degree, which leads to teaching certification in math and science. That's great. And when I was first beginning to talk to community colleges, when I was working with math alone years ago, I was really happy when I got to this point, when I could see how to make this 2+2 pathway. But this doesn't really solve everybody's needs, because the community colleges need their students to complete a 2-year degree, be it an AAT, an AA, or AS. And that makes it even more challenging, because now it's not just like I can fit the courses 2 years at the community college and 2 years at Towson, but those 2 years at the community college have to lead to a degree, and those degrees have requirements that maybe are not something that I need in my major. And so it's trying to fit all the courses together. We were able to find that all the community colleges could make this major work. Some of them could use like the AA in computer science or mathematics. Some of them needed to go and take a look at their general studies major. But in every case, there was a pathway. You know, it's a little bit nicer to say, let's start with an AAT in, you know, mathematics, or an AA in computer science, because you can gather your students together there. But the AA in general science worked well as a catch-all. Lastly, I wanted to say, having all the community colleges visit us and meet with us and tell us their concerns and what they would like to see, it drew our attention to a way that we could improve the requirements of this major, such that the pathway from the community college would be smoother. And I took that message. It was about a discrete math course. The community colleges require that as part of their math and computer science majors, but Towson for math majors was requiring a slightly different course, different enough that they wouldn't accept discrete math. And this was requiring students to take an extra course, because they had to take discrete math at the community college level and then intro to abstract math with us. But I took this concern of the community college to the math department, and we're looking at it and probably will revise the math requirements respectively. So that was, you know, a nice outcome. So that's what we have. And that's my information, and I'll